Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be trying out some new luxury beauty products. So I have some new Hourglass, the Hourglass eyeshadows. I also have the Ilia blush. And then I also just have some newer to me luxury beauty products that I'm trying out, and trying out some also just newer products in general. I didn't want to have to buy a full face of makeup just to call this like a trying new makeup video. So a lot of these are just newer purchases that I'm just going to follow you up with, just because I do try out a lot of new products, not in comparison to some other people, just because I am very curated and picky about what I pick up. But I do have some newer products that I want to talk about. And in general, I don't like to talk about products right away. Like, I won't do a first impressions video because I just honestly don't find them helpful, because it's a first impression. You don't even get to see how long something's worn. You don't get to see if it's like, if it's a foundation, if it creased or moved throughout the day. You don't see how long lasting it is, and I just don't find that helpful. So I prefer, and again, like a product, you might think you really like it initially, and I just feel like if I give a product at least a week, then I have good information to get back to you so you can know if you want to try it out. I know that people just want to upload their videos first so that people, I don't know, get a good idea of what a product is like, but I would just prefer to give you all the information. So I like to wait to update you on products. So I'm going to go in with this Merit. This is the Great Skin Priming Moisturizer, and Merit did send this over to me. It is like this thicker lotion consistency. Wow, it has this like stickiness on the bottle, on the bottom of it, so it like is sticking to my little table. But I'm just going to apply this all over as a primer. Now, I am not a primer girly. I just prefer to go in with my skincare and have a nice moisturized base from that. And I'll go in with my SPF and stuff. And I'll usually wait around, I'm going to say 10 to 15 minutes for all my skincare to settle in. But I have waited a little bit extra. Like, I worked out this morning and I just didn't apply any makeup to work out. So it has been, I'm going to say, like an hour and a half since I last applied my skincare. So this is just going to kind of refresh things. It does feel really nice. It has a nice consistency. I feel like this is going to work well for all skin types, because even though this is a priming moisturizer, it doesn't feel like a thick, heavy moisturizer. It feels very lightweight, like it's completely sunk into my skin. My skin feels hydrated. It doesn't feel sticky or tacky, and it doesn't feel greasy at all. So I feel like this is a good all-rounder primer, but again, I don't think it's a necessity, but it is a nice feeling one. Now, I feel like it has been a while since I have used a Cle De Peau foundation. I feel like I've just been going towards my Chanel, my Chantecaille foundations. You guys know how much I'm loving the new Chantecaille Future Skin foundation. They reformulated the gel foundation, and I would say that's probably one of my favorites for the summertime currently, just because it's so lightweight. It looks so natural on the skin. But hint, hint, maybe hold off on buying any Chantecaille products for like another week. Again, hint, hint. And, you know, there might be a special video that's coming along that might give you a discount. So I'm going to go in with this Cle De Peau, the foundation. I totally forgot about this foundation, and this is such a gorgeous foundation. Now, I have the shade 040, and 040, this foundation runs light, because usually I'm an 030 in Cle De Peau foundations. And I'm just going to take a little bit on the palm of my hand, as always, distributing it evenly onto the palm of my hand. And then I'm taking my brush and getting an even amount of that foundation into my brush. So all the bristles are evenly coated. And that just means when I distribute it onto my face, I'm going to get that even coat of foundation all over. Instead of, like, you know, you see people like dot foundation on their skin, or they just go in and they apply foundation, like they squirt it onto their face that way. That is just going to give you clumps of foundation in certain areas and give you just like heavy coverage in certain areas, where this is going to evenly distribute it over your skin. So there's going to be no patchiness. There's going to be no missing areas of foundation. It's evenly distributed. And then you can go in certain areas. Like if you are someone that has pigmentation or acne or whatever on your skin, you can go in with a more pigmented product, like an actual concealer, and then build up coverage that way in specific areas, versus just having heavy coverage in certain areas where it looks odd. Because again, if you're just applying it on your face in random areas, you're just going to have this uneven pigmentation on your skin, and it's not going to look as good as it being evenly distributed all over the skin. And again, you can't spot correct. I don't know what this, I have this like little dot just right here on my forehead. I have no idea what it is because it's not like acne or anything. So I don't know. I just, sometimes do you wake up with like random marks on your face and you're just like, how did that happen? But anyways, just building this all over the skin. This is a gorgeous foundation because it's almost like, okay, you know how tinted moisturizers are called tinted moisturizers, but sometimes they don't have that consistency of a moisturizer or of a cream. This is an actual cream consistency. It feels literally like a tinted lotion because it is creamy, but not too creamy in a way where it feels heavy. Like it is the summer months right now. And I'm going to wear this on my skin because I have been wearing this lately and I just really like how it performs. Even though you'd think for something that's a more tinted lotion consistency, you might think that it would be too heavy or look too greasy throughout the day. But I really love this foundation because it looks insanely natural. I would say it looks just as natural as the Chantecaille Future Skin, the one that I've been talking about lately. Like it definitely has that same look on the skin where it looks incredibly natural. You can still see your skin texture is showing through. I would say the difference between the two is this Cle De Peau is not water-based, so it isn't as liquidy or as cooling as the Chantecaille one. The Chantecaille one is a thinner consistency, where this Cle De Peau has a bit of a thicker, more cream-like consistency. So that makes the Cle De Peau one feel more hydrating on the skin, but it's not hydrating in a way where it looks greasy. It just looks very plump. It looks very healthy looking. I actually really want my mom to try this foundation because she really, like Cle De Peau foundations are some of her favorite. Her holy grail foundation is the Chanel Sublimage Licence Détente and the Cle De Peau Cushion Foundation. So I'd love to hear her thoughts on this one because I feel like it gives the same vibe as the Chanel Sublimage, but it's a little bit less coverage and it's just as perfecting in the way, like this truly does blur your skin, especially in the center of your face where you have pores. Like it's so blurred in that area. And again, it just evens out the skin tone without looking heavy, without being full coverage or cakey looking or just a heavy coverage in general. Your skin just looks gorgeous, especially in natural daylight. Like, I just can't get over how smoothing and plumping the complexion looks. It's a really, really beautiful product. For concealer today, I'm going to go back with an Old Faithful, and this is the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer. I have the shade number 4 and 5. Again, this is also my mom's favorite concealer. I'm just going to mix those two onto the palm of my hand again, because this, I just find it a little nicer. Like you get just an even application when you apply it this way. You can obviously just apply it like normally applying the doe foot underneath your eyes, but I'm just going to go in this way for a more like smooth, seamless application. And I'm just going to buff this underneath the eyes. And I'm using this with a BK Beauty. This is an N16 brush. I literally can't stop using this brush. It's so nice for the under eye region. If you're looking for a concealer that has really good coverage, that doesn't crease, that doesn't move throughout the day, this is truly the best concealer you will ever try. I have no doubts about that. It is so, so good. And I feel like it's severely underrated. I feel like because it's a little bit more finicky, maybe that would be annoying for some people. It's not really, it's just that the doe foot is so large. But again, this is my mom's favorite concealer and she is 66 and she loves it. I can link our video down below, but I just feel like it's such a good concealer for a good variety of different age groups, and it's just very consistent. Like, I love it all throughout the year. It doesn't perform better in the summer or the fall or the winter. It's just such a great all-rounder. It looks skin-like, even though it has a decent coverage, never creases, never moves throughout the day. It's just so, so good, and I don't hear enough people talking about it. So I want to bring attention to this concealer again because of just how much of a staple it is for me, and I have repurchased it. So Surratt sent me the first one, and I've repurchased it twice since then. And I think from here, I am going to go in with a liquid bronzer, and I'm going to take the Westman Atelier. So I do think I just self-tan, so my neck is a little bit darker than my face. So I'm going to take this Westman Atelier. This is the Spend Tone Bronzing Drops in the shade the shade 1, and I'm going to give it a good shake. These just came back into stock, so I wanted to use these again because these have just truly been a standout product for the year, and they are different than some of the other cream/liquid bronzers that are some of my favorite. So in comparison, like I love, where is my Makeup by Mario? That Makeup by Mario little compact. I really love that one. Okay, I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to show you. But you know what I mean, the Skin Enhancer from Makeup by Mario. I really love that one, but that is definitely more lightweight. It is more of a gel consistency, and it remains just very hydrated on the skin. I do think it sets down, but it doesn't set down to a powder finish or anything like that. It kind of remains almost emollient, but not in a way where it's sticky or tacky on the skin, but it just makes your skin look really fresh and glowing, and it is ultra sheer. This is not a super sheer bronzer. You definitely can get color out of it. It's nothing super intense, like it's definitely buildable, but you can get way more color out of it than the Makeup by Mario. And this sits down to more of a natural skin-like finish. It's not going to remain looking glowy or anything like that. This also has no shimmer to it. A lot of liquid bronzers contain shimmer, and I just don't like that in a liquid bronzer. I don't want it to be shimmery or glowy in that way. I want it to look like natural, real skin. And this truly looks like your complexion just has a nice, gorgeous, natural tan, especially because it leans very neutral. It is not orangey in the slightest. And then in comparison to my Chantecaille Sheer Bronze Face Tint, that one is just much more warm toned. It definitely is a warmer tone on the complexion, and it also comes in one shade. I really wish they would release that formula in different shades. I do think it's a really good seller, so I don't know why they don't release it in more shades, especially because I feel like more people could get use out of it. But that's probably my holy grail liquid bronzer, just because I would say the finishes are very similar. The Chantecaille one is a bit more sheer and also a bit more blurring. This one doesn't have that same skin blurring property like the Chantecaille one has, where the Chantecaille one I can use as a multi-purpose product. I can actually use that Chantecaille product as a tinted moisturizer. Like, I don't have to add any other coverage with that product. That's how beautiful on the complexion it is and how skin-like it is. It's virtually a skin enhancer, kind of similar to that Makeup by Mario. It's like 1 to 2 shades deeper than my complexion, which again isn't going to work for darker skin tones, which is why I would hope they would expand the shade range. And yeah, that's just a great one because I like to mix it into my foundations if my foundation's a little bit too light, and I can also just use it as a liquid bronzer. And it's a liquid bronzer that truly looks like your skin is just a little bit more bronzed because it's so skin-like. And yeah, it's just gorgeous. So I love that one more as a multi-purpose product, where this one just works great for bronzing the complexion in a really natural way. Because again, it's not too bronzed, it's not too orange in tone. Like, it's definitely not pulling warm or orange in the slightest. It's very neutral. I love that it dries down to that natural skin-like finish. The only thing, and someone brought this up in my best bronzers video, it is very messy. Like, there's always product, like excess product that gets gathered on this lid and it just looks messy. So I don't love that. But I feel like I am already like halfway through this bottle. That's how much I am getting use out of it. I really love it. Like, it just looks like a gorgeous bronzer that actually mimics real skin. So it's just really pretty, especially in the summertime when maybe you don't want to wear as much facial products and you want it to remain that natural consistency. I'm just going over the edges. It is very easy to blend, but just in case, I'm just going over everything with any excess product on my foundation brush. Usually I just go ahead and finish the rest of my face, but I think I'm just gonna do the eyes now. And the blush I'm using is a little bit more cool tone, so I'm gonna be careful not to go too warm toned on this. But this is the new Hourglass Quad. I chose the eyeshadow palette in the shade Futurist. I actually went in stores and looked at all the color options just because I was unsure which color I wanted. I was leaning towards the more pink one, but in person, I actually didn't really like the swatches very much. And then I was gonna get the metallic palette because I thought it was a little bit different. Like, the mattes, honestly, weren't that impressive to me. They were just so average. Like, a Cle De Peau palette. These mattes are spectacular because of how they look on the skin. To me, that is worth the money. This was 92 Canadian dollars, so I spent $92 on that, which is a lot of money. And I just don't think the mattes are like that spectacular. To me, I don't think they're worth $92. So I was like, okay, well, I want a palette with the shimmers, but then the metallic palette, again, it didn't look that special to me. So this was just the one that ended up being the most special, I guess you could say. And that was the shade Futurist. So this is the more warm tone palette where it has some copper, some warm browns. It's like a typical eyeshadow palette. So we have this satin champagne shade, which again, it's like an ivory tone. It's just a nice champagne. We have a nice warm brown matte. I'll show you the swatches after. So there are the swatches. So we have that champagne, that matte warm brown. We have the golden bronze, and then we have the matte deeper brown. Again, it's a very nice standard palette. I do like the shimmers because they're creamy. They are really nice in consistency. They're that even pigmentation, so there's none of that intermittent shimmer particle where there's glitter. I don't like glitter flecks on my complexion personally, so for me, this is a palette that's really nice because even though this is called a metallic, it's not a sparkly metallic, which I enjoy, but it does have dimension to it because the shimmer particles just fleck different shades. And the mattes, they're nice, they're easy to blend, they're buttery, they're smooth. So again, I'm going to go in with this warm matte brown here, and I'm going to take it on a this is a BK Beauty N13 brush, always getting off that excess product. I'm going to first just tap it in this outside corner, and then with any of that excess product, I'm just going to build it into the crease, starting at the outer corner, working it inwards. This is really nice, easy to blend. You don't get a lot of fallout, so that's nice as well. And it's a nice pigmentation because it's not ultra pigmented when you start out, so it doesn't get away from you. I would rather my products be buildable than like super duper pigmented right from the start. So again, just pressing that onto the outer corner, and then with any excess product, I'm gonna bring that through the crease. I'm just gonna bring a little bit more of that warm brown just onto the outside corner. So building up a little bit, but again, I don't like to go for a super intense eye makeup look, so I'm gonna keep this pretty light. Today is a Saturday, and I don't have that much going on, but like, I just live in a place where makeup is not super popular. So if I wear a lot of makeup, it's just going to be noticeable. And I'm just going to the store and like running errands and like seeing my parents today. So I don't want to go overboard. I'm going to take a little bit of this deeper brown on that same brush. And again, getting off that excess product. And I'm just going to work this just a little bit deeper into the outer corner. But I'm just going to go back and forth between the eyes. Because again, I want this very light. I don't want this to be too intense at all. Just a little bit more depth on the very outside corner. I'm not going to bring it into the crease though. Just tapping it on that outside corner. And I am going to take that deeper shade, and I'm just going to take it on this flat definer brush, and I'm going to use it as an eyeliner. So I'm going to apply it from the outer corner, working inwards. Since this is an eyeshadow, you don't need to be super precise, but I am just working it as an eyeliner, smudging it into the lashes, all the way from outer corner inwards. And this is a lighter brown. It's not like a super, super deep brown. So I like that, especially because I'm into just more lighter natural makeup looks. So if you wanted something with more depth, you would have to go in with a deeper color. This is probably a little bit lighter than what most people would use as their actual eyeliner, just as a heads up. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this golden copper shade on a Rephr 02 brush, making sure to get off that excess. And I'm just going to apply that all over the lid from inner to outer corner. It's a really pretty shade, I have to say. I do love golden bronzy tones. They're like my favorite. So this is definitely a shade I like, and I like that it's a smooth metallic versus it being a chunky metallic that I will literally never wear. So just working it from the inner to outer corner. I am going to build it up because it's not as intensely pigmented as I would think. But again, I prefer that. I would rather build up my colors than it be just overwhelming. It's definitely better than those new Dior eyeshadow palettes. Wow, I just did not like how those looked on the eyes. They just looked so, there was something like really heavy about them. It was such a weird formula, but I returned that palette anyways because it was just not good. Especially over time, it just, I don't know what it was about it, but it just did not look flattering on the eyes. And I know a lot of you guys agreed with me there. So that's really pretty. And then I am going to go in with this lightest shade here on the same brush. Not even going to change it or anything. I'm just going to focus this on the center, and then I'm just going to kind of blend it all over as well because I kind of want to lighten that copper shade. I feel like it's just a little bit too dark for me just running errands and not doing anything crazy in particular. Okay, I find it so weird that I just talked about those Dior shadows because this champagne shade almost has that weird effect that those Dior shadows had, where it's just like that weird metallic on my eyes where it just kind of looks like, it almost looks heavy or something. So I just went over top of it with that copper bronze again to tone it down because there was just something that I didn't like about that metallic effect on the eyes. It just looks like heavy in a weird way, if that makes sense. It almost looks like too thick. Very odd, but I don't really like that shade. But besides that, I like the other shades. I'm just gonna go back in with this brush and I'm going to touch up the outer corner. So I think this eyeshadow palette is really pretty. I think the color story is gorgeous. Do I think the formula is exceptional and worth $92? No, I do not. I think it's just like an average eyeshadow palette. I think, I don't know, if it was $50, I think it would be worth it, but $92 is just so expensive. And I think, to me, the Cle De Peau eyeshadow palettes are just so superior. Like, they are so sophisticated and finely milled. They just have an effect on the eyes where they almost make your eyes look younger, which I know sounds crazy, but there is something just so youthful and gorgeous about this formula, where to me, like, and this is $140, including the packaging, like the actual palette. But to me, that's worth the money just because of how exceptional the palette is and how it performs. But to me, this is just like an average palette. I'm just going to take a completely clean brush. This is a BK Beauty 202 brush. I'm just going to run over the edges just to make sure there are no harsh lines. Everything is really smooth and evenly blended out, especially because I had to layer over top of that champagne shade. I just don't want anything to look thick or heavy, so I'm just going to kind of run over the lid too, just to ensure there's nothing like too heavy sitting on top of my eyes. I am going to build a little bit of color on the lower lash line as well, just because I do prefer to have a little bit of color there. I'm going to go in with this golden champagne, or sorry, it's just like a golden bronze tone. And I'm just going to work that onto the inner portion, or sorry, the middle portion of my lower lash line, just there, because I only want the shimmer to be in that area. And then I'm going to go in with that matte brown, the lightest matte brown. I'm going to take that, get off that excess. And this is a BK Beauty 204 brush. I'm going to work that on the outer corner of my lower lash line. Work it inwards and then make sure to connect it to the top outer lash line so that it all flows together, and then blend whatever's left into the inner lower lash line. I haven't colored this dark on my lower lash line in so long, so I feel like it looks a little weird. So I'm going to take this blank brush. This is just a Rephr 12 brush, and I'm going to just run over everything just to kind of smoke it out a little bit more so it doesn't look as dark under there. I'm just so not used to wearing that heavy of lower lash line makeup anymore. I truly haven't done like more dramatic eye makeup in a very long time. So sometimes, you know, when you don't do it for a long time and then you do it and you think it looks weird, it will look better once everything's more cleaned up. I'm gonna go back in with this Chantecaille Le Camouflage Stilo. There actually was no fallout, which I do think is quite impressive because those shades were a little bit more pigmented, a little bit more on the matte side, and so, or sorry, on the powdery side, and sometimes that can create fallout. So I am impressed that there is virtually no fallout, but I'm just gonna clean up that outer corner of my eye a little bit. So I just went in with 2 coats of this Chantecaille Faux Seal Longest Lash Mascara and my Prada Durable Gliding Eye Pencil in the black shade. I kind of want to pick this up in a brown. And it's weird because the first time I used this, it transferred. But now that I've been using it more, it's not transferring. So I don't know if it just transfers off like initial application and then it doesn't. But it's been working way better as a tight line. Like I just tight lined my upper waterline. I'm going to move on to bronzer and I'm going to take my current favorite, which is my YSL. This is the All Hours Hyper Bronze. Obviously I still like my Hermes one more, but this is just a nice kind of typical matte bronzer. And sometimes you just go in phases with bronzers. And right now I'm just liking this. I'm also a little bit darker and this bronzer is a little bit darker. So it's going to just match my chest a little bit better. So just bronzing the face, doing nothing special, but using this Refer 22 brush. I like a big bronzer brush just to apply an even generous layer of product. Again, because I'm making sure everything's evenly blended onto my hand before I go in. I'm also just going to touch up the lower lash line using this bronzer just because I want to take away a little bit of that warmth in that eyeshadow. And I want everything to be really cohesive. So I like adding a little bit of bronzer or blush into my eye look just somewhere so that it just ties everything together. I just really like the look of it. And then for whatever reason, to me, that just looks better. Just do the lips while we're here. I'm going to take this Chantecaille. This is the lip definer in the shade Natural. I'm just going to line and fill in my lips. I just want that to give me a little bit of definition. And this is literally the color of my lips. And then I'm going to take my Merit Baby lipstick. I feel like it's been a while since I've used this. And let's just tap this on to my lips. And then for a gloss, I'm going to take this Chantecaille Love Lip Gloss and just add a little bit just to finish everything off. I'm going to take my Dior highlighter. This is the Dior Forever Glow Luminizer in the shade Gold Halo. I've been going back and forth between either this or my Prada. This is going to give a little bit more intensity than the Prada highlighter is, but this does really melt into the complexion like a liquid highlighter because this is a big gelée. But this just gives a little bit more glow than the Prada one, where the Prada one is literally like an actual cream highlighter, like an actual stick highlighter. Like, for example, this Victoria Beckham. It really represents that look where it's not very glowy at all. It truly looks like you've applied a cream. It truly does melt into the complexion. It looks like skin. But this also does, it's just more intense of a highlighter because you can definitely see more of that glow. But it does have that melting into the skin quality, even though it just gives you more of a glow look. And finally, taking this Ilia Soft Focus Blurring Blush in the shade Sensation. Again, I went into store to look at these, and the other lighter ones, first of all, the more neutral the more neutral tones pulled very warm on my complexion. And then the lightest tone that was more of that like leaning mauve shade, it looked like a little bit too shimmery, where this shade, it was so gorgeous. I didn't really give you a good swatch, but it is just this gorgeous, like pinky tone. It almost leans a little bit mauve. It's gorgeous. So again, the tones I use on my eyes are quite warm. So I'm going to be just very gentle and ginger about this application. I'm just going to start off with 2 little dabs. There is no mirror in that, so that was very deceiving. I'm going to just take this. So I'm just going to press that onto the cheeks. Now, this color doesn't really go with this look. I'm going to admit that. But actually, the more I look at it, the more I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that illumination property. Now, I wish I didn't apply the highlighter. I feel like maybe it's just too illuminating. Like you can almost see the silver, like there's almost like a silverness that's peeking through. Maybe I would just like this. I don't know. I'm going to have to try this out. This is the only product I have not tested out before. It is really nice. Okay. See, it's not as blurring as I thought it would be. It's blurring on the hand, but not as blurring on the skin because of that little bit of sheen that it leaves behind. It just doesn't look completely natural. And I also don't think it blended out the best. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. This is a Face 1 brush from Sony G. I think it's just called the buffing brush now. And I'm going to buff over everything just to make sure it's more seamless and smooth. I think that just might be too much of a shimmery formulation for me. And then I'm going to fix it with one of my favorite just techniques to use in general. This is the Merit Flush Balm in the shade Lusitano. So this is going to add more warmth to the look. It's basically, I'm just using this to adjust the temperature of my cheeks because now they're a little bit too cool toned for my eyes. So I'm just gonna warm everything up using that, taking a BK Beauty N15 brush. And I'm just going to apply this over the cheeks just to bring a little bit of warmth back. And it's going to make my cheeks look a little bit more plump too because now I am changing the texture. And this texture just makes your cheeks look so healthy, so plump, so good, and it performs so beautifully over top of powder products. It's honestly one of the best cream blush formulations ever. I'm gonna go in with a little bit more product. I feel like that fixed the look. Like to me, that looks so much better. So, okay, maybe I don't love those Ilia blushes. I thought they looked really nice on the hands and I thought they'd be really easy to blend. I do like the look of it versus the Hourglass because it's not as heavy. It's just the shimmer in it. I wish it wasn't as, like I wish it didn't have as strong as of a sheen and then it would be super blurring. So if they just took away the sheen. That is the completed makeup look and let's just go over my thoughts really quickly. And I'm really sad to say I don't really like any of the new makeup products. This Ilia blush, no. The shimmer in this, I just don't like. It just reflects the cheeks in a way that I don't think looks very natural or flattering. If you're looking for a really beautiful blurring blush that has that illumination factor, but is still this is called a blurring blush, but to me it doesn't blur because of that illumination. Try the Valentino blushes. This will be your saving grace. This is what I want the Hourglass blushes to be. This is what I want in a glowy blush, but is again ultra blurring and just so creamy and melts into the skin. While this does melt into the skin nice, I just don't like that glow. I don't think it's flattering. No, that's just a no for me, which is really disappointing because on my hand, I was so excited for it. So that's disappointing. And again, the sheen was so much stronger in the lighter colors that I know I'm not gonna like those ones at all. And unfortunately for the Hourglass palette, is it nice? Yeah, but the packaging is so cheap. It's just plastic and light. It doesn't feel luxurious at all. These eyeshadows, I think that they're nice. They're easy to blend, easy to work with eyeshadows, but are they special? No. If you want a special eyeshadow palette, seriously, try the Cle De Peau Quads. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. They're worth my money all day long. I don't see myself, like, why would I pull for this palette when it's so average? I like my NARS Laguna eyeshadow quad more. To me, this looks just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, on the eyes than this Hourglass one does. And the colors are so similar, but the NARS one, here, I hate how this doesn't stay open. The NARS one, honestly, the palette even feels more luxurious than the Hourglass palette. The eyeshadow formula is more beautiful. So to me, I don't think this is worth the money. It's $92. That is crazy for just the quality you get. I don't think it's worth it. So I feel like I was really harsh in today's video. I hope you guys liked this video. This was just me trying out some new makeup. Let me know your thoughts on any of these new makeup products if you have been loving them, or your thoughts, or if there's any new products you want me to try out. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video. I don't really want to be negative in these videos, but I have to share my honest thoughts, and I just don't think these new releases are worth it.